Previously, I made these dungeon tiles for dungeon crawling in a tavern basement or a keep or something like that. And I made some wood floors for ships or inns or houses. But what if our adventures are out in the wilderness? So I decided to make some ancient ruins they might find in a forest or other wild setting. I started by cutting some insulation foam on the hot wire cutter into 1/2-inch thick strips. I then textured these strips by rolling a crumpled up aluminum foil ball on them, making sure to get all the edges. I then sliced them into 1-inch pieces to form stone bricks for walls. I set these aside while I made the bases. The bases I made from a roughly 5-inch by 5-inch piece of foam core. I used a brick to get a rough idea of how long to make each base, drew a freehand line for the inside, and then just started cutting roughly. These are going to be scatter terrain, so I want the edges to be able to blend into a mat. I forgot to remove the paper from the back of the foam core, so I've peeled it off and then continued cutting. To help the edges blend into the mat, I beveled them with a sharp craft knife. Then I started gluing on my stone bricks. Each brick is 1 inch and equates to 5 feet in the game, so my walls could range from just 5 feet to up to 20 feet long. I also broke some bricks into pieces to give the walls a ruined, broken look in some places. On some of the bases, I added floor tiles with a pencil. These stones could also be stacked haphazardly, so as to make the walls of the ruins appear to be falling down. To add to that effect, I even placed some tumbled stones and small pieces scattered at the base of the walls. Next up was to add texture to the bases by gluing on some sand and pebbles. Here's a tip. Whenever I flock or add sand or stones, I do it on a piece of paper so I can save the stuff that falls off into a random tin to use later. For painting, I started with the usual base of modpodge mixed with black paint to give the pieces a hard coating. Then it was on with a base coat of regular medium gray, making sure to cover as much as possible. It's okay if the gray doesn't get in all the cracks though. I then hit the bases with a darkened brown with a little bit of gray mixed in it for the dirt. On the beveled edge of the bases, I added a little watered down green so they will blend into a forest setting. Then a dry brush of very light gray to bring out the highlights. I dry brush the ground as well as the walls so that the rocks and stones also get highlighted. To finish off, a generous wash of black with a little bit of brown mixed in to deepen the cracks and details and make the walls look old and dirty. You can see I am being very generous with this wash as it's dripping off of the pieces. Don't be afraid to overdo it. At this point, the battery in my gimbal died, so I had to take a break for a bit. You know, making videos while at the same time crafting makes the work take twice as long. So be sure to support your favorite YouTube crafters, mine being Blackmagic Craft. They have to put in a lot of extra effort to produce videos on top of doing the crafting itself. Which leads me to ask you to give us a like and a subscribe. It's totally free and it really helps out. After the wash, I decided the pieces were a little too dark, so I simply went over them with another light gray dry brushing to bring back the highlights. Like I said, don't be afraid to overdo it because you can always go back and adjust things until it's just right. Now the difference between okay looking terrain and great looking terrain is the added details. So adding flock is, in my opinion, crucial to great looking terrain. If you're hesitant to try it, I urge you to go for it. Get a small bag of flock and try it on some pieces. I even mix in old herbs to add a variety without having to buy lots of different colored and sized flock. It might look like flocking is precise work, but it really isn't. The more random it is, the better it looks. To seal in the flock and make it good and hard, I used an old hand sanitizer spray bottle filled with watered down glue and sprayed it all over the pieces. After everything was dry, I set the pieces out on my homemade battle mat, which I'll show you how to make soon, and it looked fantastic. Great looking ancient ruins for an encounter in the wilderness. Let me know in the comments if you liked this video, and thanks for watching.